You are the definition of courage. Do you know that?
Welcome to the Pride Channel, your home for all things queer news, history, and pop culture. Every June, logos suddenly change colors. Corporations post carefully crafted messages about love and inclusion. Stores fill up with rainbow merchandise, pride playlists, and limited edition collections. For 1 month, queerness becomes highly visible, highly marketable, and highly profitable. Then July arrives, and almost overnight, the rainbows disappear. The merchandise is cleared out, the campaigns end, and many companies move on as if Pride never happened. That cycle is exactly why so many people criticize rainbow capitalism.
Not every university feels the need to step forward and actually say things, to say that discrimination's not okay, and that we are accepting of all people, especially VU.
At its core, rainbow capitalism is the idea that corporations use LGBTQ+ identity, culture, and activism as marketing tools to sell products and improve their image without truly supporting queer people in meaningful ways. What began as a movement rooted in resistance and survival often gets transformed into something polished, safe, and easy to consume. Pride becomes less about protest and more about branding.
In the early morning hours of June 28, 1969, a riot broke out in front of the Stonewall Inn in New York City. In society, members of the gay community were often subject to violence, harassment, and discrimination.
The uncomfortable truth is that Pride did not begin as a celebration sponsored by banks, fast food chains, or fashion companies. The modern LGBTQ+ rights movement was born from anger, resistance, and desperation, especially after the Stonewall riots. Queer people were fighting police brutality, discrimination, violence, homelessness, and a society that treated them as disposable. Pride marches were acts of defiance. They were loud, political, messy, and deeply human.
What does it mean to be here on this day?
I got goosebumps. It's a beautiful celebration and also a beautiful reminder that we still have to continue to fight.
Rainbow capitalism often strips away that history. The anger becomes softened into colorful advertising campaigns and catchy slogans about being yourself. The politics become watered down until they are comfortable enough for mass audiences and shareholders. It is much easier for a company to sell a rainbow t-shirt than to speak honestly about anti-trans violence, healthcare inequality, queer homelessness, or the continued attacks on LGBTQ+ rights happening around the world.
And Pride Month actually started with a protest against police brutality at New York City's Stonewall Inn back in 1969.
What makes the issue even more frustrating is the contradiction many people notice behind the scenes. Some companies proudly wave rainbow flags during Pride Month, while simultaneously donating money to politicians or organizations that support anti-LGBTQ+ policies. A corporation might post messages celebrating queer identity online, while financially supporting lawmakers pushing anti-trans legislation in private. That disconnect makes the support feel performative. It starts to look less like allyship and more like a business strategy designed to attract queer consumers without risking too much politically.
But today, some LGBTQ activists say Pride has turned into a corporate-branded party where the rainbow flag has been co-opted for profit.
There is also the way corporate pride tends to sanitize queerness itself. The version of LGBTQ+ identity that gets marketed is often the version considered safest and most profitable. It is polished, attractive, non-threatening, and designed to appeal to mainstream audiences. Meanwhile, many of the people who have historically pushed queer activism forward, trans activists, drag performers, queer people of color, disabled queer voices, and others living outside society's idea of acceptable, are often pushed to the side. Pride becomes cleaner, quieter, and easier to sell.
Some people might think corporations are using pride symbols more, and they'd think that's support.
Well, I think we must understand that it's a gesture of support, but gestures of support, of solidarity, aren't always enough, and they're often never enough.
For many people, this commercialization creates another painful irony. During Pride Month, giant corporations dominate attention with massive advertising campaigns, while smaller queer-owned businesses, artists, creators, and community organizations struggle to be seen. The very people who built queer culture and fought for queer visibility often benefit the least financially from Pride's commercialization. In some ways, corporations become the loudest voices in a movement they did not create.
They have taken that corporate presence to the nth degree, to the point that it overshadows the members of the community, and it overshadows the fact that we are still fighting for our rights.
Another criticism is that rainbow capitalism can create the illusion that equality has already been achieved. When every major company changes its logo to rainbow colors, society can start to look more progressive than it actually is. It creates a comforting image of acceptance, while many LGBTQ+ people still face discrimination, violence, rejection from families, housing insecurity, and political attacks. For trans people especially, the contrast between corporate pride campaigns and real-world hostility can feel deeply hollow.
Now, with all these anti-trans laws, one would assume it's because the country is overrun with trans kids taking over sports, right?
Republicans pushing for the ban have been unable to point to any evidence of a problem.
At the same time, the conversation is not entirely black and white. Some people argue that corporate support does matter because there was a time when companies avoided LGBTQ+ visibility completely out of fear and prejudice. Public support from major brands can help normalize queer identities and make LGBTQ+ people feel less isolated, especially in conservative areas where visibility alone can feel powerful. There are also companies that genuinely back up their messaging by funding LGBTQ+ organizations, protecting queer employees, offering healthcare benefits, and supporting the community year-round, rather than only during Pride Month. That is really where the debate lives.
Since the beginning of August, Republicans have spent more than $65 million on ads focusing on transgender issues in over a dozen states.
The question is not simply whether companies should support Pride. The real question is whether that support continues when the marketing campaign ends. People are becoming more aware of the difference between genuine allyship and branding. They are asking whether corporations are standing with LGBTQ+ people because they truly care about equality, or because queerness has become profitable. And maybe that is why rainbow capitalism leaves such a bitter taste for many people. Pride was born from resistance, pain, and the fight to survive. Seeing that history transformed into seasonal advertising can feel like watching something deeply personal being packaged and sold back to the community that created it. There is a difference between supporting a movement and marketing to one, and more people are starting to recognize the gap between the two.
22 states banning trans kids from school sports.
And you thought the government couldn't get anything done.
Thanks for watching the Pride Channel, where queer voices, history, and pop culture take center stage. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload.